RevOpsAF, the only podcast for people who are RevOpsAF and want to learn all about things that are RevOps AF.
Our goal is to give the revenue operations community, that includes marketing, sales, and CS, for any of you not paying attention, the skills needed to accelerate their careers. Hello and welcome to RevOps AF, the podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Camela Thompson, and today I am joined by Alex Biale. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. So, my name is Alex Biale. I'm one of the two founders here at Domestique. Domestique is a fractional revenue operations agency. And the way that we think about RevOps is maybe a little bit more broad than some folks. It's across the entire customer journey. So, it's inclusive of marketing operations, sales operations, customer success operations, and all of the technologists and admins and analysts that support that. Yeah, so I'm excited to dive in today.
And I support your definition, but that's another story. Everybody
Love
already
it.
knows that. It's a passion point of mine. I
I
know
love
we
it.
can't always control what all RevOps encompasses, but yeah, that's living the dream in my book. We're not talking about that today, though. We could, but instead we're going to be talking about something I hear from clients quite frequently, and you probably do too, is do I need to blow up my CRM? And so do you hear that too?
Yeah, short answer, yes. Slightly longer answer, all the time. We get a lot of inbound inquiries from folks that come in and just start the conversation with, okay, so we need a new CRM. How do you recommend we go about that? And I'm sure we lose a couple deals every now and then because we take this approach. But our approach is like, hold on, why do you need to blow up your CRM? Let's actually have that conversation, because when you start to push on why, sometimes the answer is just we're just tired of this one, and we think that if we move from HubSpot to Salesforce, or from this Salesforce instance to that Salesforce instance, that all of a sudden all of our problems are going to be solved. And that has not been our experience at all. And I'm happy to get into the specifics of how and why, but I we hear this at the firm more often than I would think. And it's not just from RevOps folks, it's from executive teams, go-to-market leaders, as across the board.
What's funny is as you're saying that, I hear it more often from executives, to be honest. I hear it from operators too, but what I've found is a lot of times they've come into the company, they're more confident with another tool set, so they're willing to be persuaded. But the executives, to me, and this is oversimplifying, but to me, a lot of times they seem to think that a new tool set will fix a lot of the issues they're seeing. But I'd really be curious to hear from you. What are the guiding principles people should use as they make this? What's a good reason and what's a bad reason?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I am sure, because of the audience of this show, everybody or most of the folks listening, hopefully they're not watching. I didn't do my hair today.
You watching?
Okay. Apologies in advance. How many times have you heard the statement, oh, it's this process is done this way because that's the way that Salesforce is set up? Or, oh, we do it this way because that's the way that HubSpot is set up. I hear that all the time, both in previous lives as an in-house operator and here at Domestique. And we just think that's fundamentally backwards. A tool is just that. It's a tool. It's not the end all be all. As operators, whether you're marketing ops, sales ops, customer success ops, rev ops, whatever, yeah, tools are the way in which we get things done, but it's not implementing a new CRM is not the business outcome, right? It's like the business outcome is giving time back to sellers or improving insights into our funnel so that we can make better capital allocation decisions, right? In our RevOps framework, you asked about guiding principles, is pretty simple, but I think it works. It's strategy, process, technology, data, enablement. And it's in that order. And that's the important part. And so technology is not first. We don't start with your tech. So if you are an in-house operator and you're starting to hear executives or folks in the company start talking about, okay, we're going to be moving to this new, buying a new tool here and there is fine, but if you're moving CRMs, that's like a fundamental tectonic shift in the business. And so I would encourage you to push back and ask strategy questions and then ask process questions. And so by strategy questions, I mean our go-to-market strategy. Is our go-to-market strategy fundamentally changing? It might be. And it might require the nuances of a new tool. Great. That's a perfectly fine reason. Or maybe you're a private equity backed company and you are about to go on a spree of buying a bunch of companies and you need to create a sort of central source of truth that you can ingest these other portfolio companies into. Okay, those are all reasonable answers. Then get into process. Like once you have your go-to-market strategy, whether it's organic growth or inorganic growth, and you have that outlined, then get into process and say, okay, how are we going to execute against that strategy? And once you have all of that figured out, don't even think about the tool or the tech stack yet. Then you can get into the tech stack and say, okay, what is the tech stack that is best going to serve this go-to-market strategy and how we want to go about executing it? Because the overwhelming majority of the time when we push our clients to have those conversations, the answer for why they want to switch is really kind of one of two things. One is the team is more familiar with another tool, just like you said, and
Yeah.
it's just simply, I don't want to learn how to do it in this tool. Or it's, we've just been using it for so long and nobody trusts it. And again, it's like, I just think, okay, a new tool isn't necessarily going to solve that because, again, if you haven't solved the process that is aligned with your strategy, if you haven't got those two pieces right, it's still going to be garbage in, garbage out, just with different window dressing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been an admin for so many different tools: Zoho, CRM, Pipedrive, Salesforce is where I started, HubSpot, you name it, I've probably worked with it. And the reason why I'm willing to do that is fundamentally a lot of the best practices are consistent across tools. And the main reason I see people wanting to blow up their CRM has to do with data hygiene and lack of processes. And I'm like, you're going to have to deal with that even if you move to a new CRM, because you're just going to be porting garbage over to that system and be in the same exact state unless it's crazy. So why do you think there's so many folks out there who prefer one tool over the other? Like, we have the people who are diehard Orange and the people who are diehard Salesforce, and
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that just comes down to whatever your personal work history has been, like whatever your experience has been. I don't think it's more complicated than that. Domestique is, we're a HubSpot partner, Salesforce. We're partners with a ton of these different tools, and we purposefully, consciously do not advertise ourselves as that. We don't talk about ourselves as that because, again, it doesn't matter. It's just a tool. And I think 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, but certainly 10 years ago, HubSpot and Salesforce were just two fundamentally different tools going in different directions. And at a certain stage company, you just had to have Salesforce, and that's what it was. And I'm not saying that's not still true. It's just that gap is closing.
Yeah.
HubSpot is starting to be able to do more, and and Salesforce is obviously still Salesforce. I really think it just comes down to two things. One, your personal work history, right? But two, I find that a lot of in-house operators, whether you're an admin or an analyst or a RevOps manager, you don't really have a seat at the table. you don't really have the ability to have an opinion that's going to carry weight. And we'll see how this goes over. But one of the most common things we see is a new C-suite executive will come in, or VP, whatever, on the go-to-market side, and they will be used to a tech stack, whatever it is.
Yep.
I do Marketo and Salesforce, and you all are using HubSpot and Salesforce. Fine. They, as a VP of marketing or a CMO, whatever, can buy themselves 12 to 18 months of runway within their company of just quote unquote, just procuring a new tool, getting a good deal, doing a big migration, training everybody on it. But then, okay, great, you've moved tools. What is the business outcome that you are driving? What's the core business problem that you're solving? And it's usually pretty hard to answer those questions. And so I tend to be a glass half empty kind of guy. And so it's part of me thinks it's like some of this is just, oh, this is the tool I'm used to. And so I'm going to go buy it and I'm going to buy myself 18 months worth of like good graces and runway at this company while I figure out how to actually make an impact. But a tool is just a tool.
Yeah, that's a little short-sighted too because the runway and tenure of these executives is so short anyway, and putting
Exactly.
all of that energy into a tool switch. I don't know. I've seen a lot of executives frustrated by the lack of reporting, and instead of addressing the infrastructure and the way the data is moving around between systems, we're focused on moving to a new tool. I don't know. It's tough. So, as a consultant, I of course have preferences on which tools I'd rather use because let's be honest, some are better at other things than others. That's fine. But I think a sign of a good consultant is being able to step back from that and ask some really core questions to determine whether or not that's the right thing. So, what are the kind of questions you wish more consultants would ask before saying, yeah, here's our migration package, sign up for it?
That's a great question. I think the very first thing is almost like a prerequisite to what you're saying, which is having the confidence as a consultant to know that you are enabled and or at least you should be enabling yourself to ask the why questions behind it. I get it. You're a consultant, you want to close the deal, you just want to dive in, and if they want to do a migration, you're seeing dollar sign. I get it. I totally get but at the end of the day, if you are the consultant that is primarily responsible for the strategic and technical implementation of a new tool, if it doesn't end up solving the thing, whatever the thing is, that's going to come back to bite you. And so I would encourage consultants to ask questions like, and again, these are, yeah, I feel like this isn't going to be revolutionary, but it's what is the core business problem this is going to solve? What is the new strategy this is going to enable? You touched on a big one. This might be our most common sort of request that we get at Domestique is what is the better or improved or different reporting and data insights that you are going to get from this new tool? And chances are the client will actually have an answer to the data insights question and the reporting question. I found that our customers at least have a pretty sophisticated understanding of what they want the end state to look like. Where the disconnect is, they just don't know how to get there.
Yep.
And maybe they've been told in a previous life, oh, the tool we have can't get you to that insight. But your superpower as the operator is that you can bridge the gap between board level strategy and hands on keyboard execution. And so it's your job to say, oh, you want better cohort reporting for our marketing qualified leads and for all of our different customer journey stages. That's quote unquote just better time stamping. I can do that in any one of these tools. Do we need to move from tool A to tool B to get you that? I've just always seen it visualized like X. Okay, like we can do like chances are with tools these days, especially, it's like you can do a version of it. And so again, I would encourage you to do two things that are on the opposite end of the spectrum. One is take the step back and ask the higher level questions. What's the strategy? What's the business outcome we're driving for? What's the core business problem we're trying to solve? Because there might be some big board level driver that you're just not aware of. Okay, fine. And then and then approach it from the other perspective, like in the weeds, data, reporting, insights, questions. And chances are the tool you have can do it. To back to your point that you've made a couple times, which I agree with, is maybe you just don't have the process set up properly in the tech stack that you have to get you those insights. And that's not a sexy answer for the RevOps person pushing back on some VP. Maybe instead of a big migration, maybe there's some one, data cleanup, two, process design, and then three, re-implementation of a couple of these processes. And then, and this is something that I got wrong really early in my career, and then enabling the end users being everybody from the BDR to the marketing manager to the chief revenue officer. Like, we have to enable everybody on the new process. Otherwise, regardless of if you pick a new tool or not, in 6 months, you're going to be right back where you started.
Yeah, and as a consultant, it's hard to say, in order for this to be sustainable, you have to hire somebody who's versed in all of this and can maintain it. And it's not
Yeah.
going to be me long term, so let's figure that out. But I think really quickly, I want to touch on the mindset as a business owner of a consultancy. And we see this in B2B businesses all the time that we're supporting. Is we have a lot of businesses that are stuck in that new client acquisition mindset versus the long-term land and expand. And I think a lot of us are focused on attaining revenue now. And it's hard to step back and say, I don't think this is the right fit, and risk them going to somebody else.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
like it just depends on how you look at it. My success, I look at as how often do my clients come back to me? Do they go to a new company and want to take me there? That's a good sign.
Yep.
Yeah, that's hard to balance. I don't know.
It's very hard to balance. I can empathize deeply with that. Domestique we're 4 years in. And in the early days, Reese Williams, who I think has been on here a couple times, is my co-founder. He's a good friend of mine. We've worked together here. We've worked together at two or three companies beforehand. And in the early days, we were saying yes to everything. Hey, can you guys do this? Oh yeah, I can do that. I can do like you just and to your point earlier, it's like even if I haven't done that exact thing and that exact tool, I can figure it out. It's not that hard. If I've done it in Salesforce, I can do it in HubSpot. I totally get that. But I think it comes back to what are you trying to achieve with your consulting? If you're trying to get some vacation money on the side, I get it. Just close the deal and get it done. But if you're trying to build a sustainable business, either for yourself as an individual consultant, or maybe you've got a few side hustle consultants doing it with you, I think it's about the relationships. To your point, yesterday, I just had a conversation with an executive at one of our clients, and he's moving on to his next company. They just got acquired super successfully. This will be his third company that he is going to be at with Domestique. He's been with us since the beginning. We have countless versions of those stories. And the other example, or the other point that I would make is that I actually remember the moment it was in a sales process. This was pretty early on. I was in a room with a bunch of executives and they were pushing me on just say yes to this idea. I just want you to do this. And I just kept pushing and saying, guys, I really think if we go down this path, I'm going to burn through a ton of hours and I'm going to charge you so much money. and it's not going to get you what you want, and then that's going to bite me in the ass afterwards. And they just kept pushing, and I really just drew a line and said, look, I don't know that we're the firm for you, because what I want to do is build you something that will enable you to either graduate from us or move us down into this long-term maintenance mode where maybe it's 20 hours a month. And I just said, look, I want to enable you guys to do the right things. If that's not interesting to you, that's okay. I'd love to refer you to some of our other partners in the industry that are really good at this. And yeah, it's terrifying. It was a huge deal for us. And back then, and now, it would make a big difference. And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to respond really well to that because you will have done two things. You will have done three things. One, you're showcasing that you have the RevOps specific foresight to know how to guide them so that they can see what's around the next corner. You're showing them you're going to be proactive, not reactive. Two, you're showing them that you have the best interest, their best interest at heart. You're not just trying to close a deal, you know? And three, you can speak truth to power. I think a lot of consultants and a lot of RevOps consultants specifically end up just saying yes to things, and they just end up being order takers. And part of that is because I think the role is still misunderstood. And yeah, I think RevOps professionals are brilliant. I think they're some of the best and brightest out there, and they haven't been given a seat at the table. And so the way that I always say, like, approach that is then just flip over the table and have a new conversation. And I really think that your prospects, your new business prospects, are going to respond well to you pushing back on them. And a line that works really well for us is, look, we strive, and it's not a line, this is like in our company values, this is in our customer journey map, this is how we measure the success of our business. It's, we want to be a partner for you, not a vendor. And we're going to charge what we're going to charge because of that. We are not a HubSpot agency. We're not a Salesforce agency. We are a strategic RevOps partner that, yes, has expertise in all these different tools. And it's why our team is so big. I think our team is like 52 people now. And it's that big because we have to have all that technical expertise. But what we're going to be doing is getting an understanding of what your core business problems are and working towards solving those. And I really think that, yeah, you're going to lose some deals for sure if you take this route, but you will get, one, the example that you and I both gave, repeat customers coming back whenever they move to companies. And two, you're going to have longer and longer contracts. Our second customer we ever had, back before we had a logo, we presented this massive RevOps audit on a white, it was a Google Slides presentation, white background, black text, no logo, 100 pages, no anything. They've been with us for 4 years because this is how we operate.
Yeah, yeah. I think people really respect when they can see one answer would be in your best interest. You'd make a lot of money short term, but you're advocating for what you believe is right because of your experience, and you just believe that it's just going to go down the wrong path. So, consultants, as you've mentioned, I think, I hope a lot of us realize that we're coming in with expertise already stamped on us. It's very different than being in-house and having to establish that expertise over time. For the people who are in-house, you had some good things that could apply to them, but maybe we could state a little bit more bluntly. You mentioned flipping the table. How would you recommend somebody go about that when they know that this just isn't the right call?
That's a great question. Or Domestique, I was not some big hotshot executive. And I'm still not, but I was not somebody in a big leadership position. I was the go-to-market operations guy. whether that was hands-on keyboard admin, analyst, ops, that was the world that I lived in. And give you just like a very real world example that happened there and happens here all the time. I think one of the things that you have to realize is that I think so much of it comes down to confidence. Like I really do. I really think so much of this comes down to confidence because unless you don't know what you're doing, like chances are you are seeing things that nobody else at the business know exists. And you're talking about it at the water cooler. You're talking about it in Slack with your work buddies of, man, I don't know why leadership is doing X or they're not listening to Y. Like, how are they not seeing this glaring, whatever it is? Those conversations are happening. And when I say flip over the table, there's a couple ways of doing that. And it's obviously whatever is appropriate for your culture, your work culture, whatever you feel comfortable with. But for me, I just go directly to whoever the senior lead is. That might be the CEO, it might be the CFO, the CMO, whoever it is. I just go directly to them and say, in all these cases, I've known who they are. Like, hey, we've met. I'm Alex. I run your XYZ here. I'm seeing a glaring problem that I'm not seeing that your team is accounting for in the calculus for this big decision. Can you make 15 minutes for me by the end of the week? I'd love to walk you through it and get your feedback. I have never had an executive say no to that. They've always been like, oh, okay, can you make time now? Like they're always, unless they're just a terrible executive, like they want to empower their teams, they want to listen. And I think the reason why those conversations, whether it's as dramatic as that, go well, or the reason why those conversations tend to end up not going well is because the language, the style of communication that we have as ops people is just fundamentally different than higher level executives. We get in the weeds. We want to show our work. And okay, I'm going to walk you through how I identified this problem. The three ways that I used to validate that this is a problem. Exactly. And it's
Don't do it.
like, don't do it. It's like, this is the lesson. And Reese, actually, to his credit, which I hate giving him credit for anything, but to his credit, he gave me this feedback at a few companies ago. And he's like, dude, you are the smartest person in the room on this specific attribution and conversation. Everybody's here to listen to your recommendation. Don't lead with 20 minutes of fucking preamble of because of this and because of that, and I validated this thing, and if you look at the data this way, and if you account for these two outliers, and if you just they just want the answer.
Yeah.
They want the punchline. And then if they want to go deeper, then you can go deeper. And so much of this is just articulating your point into how this decision or lack of decision or indecision is going to inhibit a business outcome that they're trying to solve or is going to start causing downstream problems. And it's just having the confidence to be able to say that.
Couple things I'll add to that is sometimes executives have context we don't. So it is important.
Absolutely.
Do the homework. Go talk to people before you do anything and make sure that your suspicions are on point. Because I've gone in and said, this is the reason why this is all messed up without having some info that the executive had. And that's tough. Another I would encourage people to do is look at Aristotle's framework for negotiation. And there's 4 factors that are really important. Logic, which we all have, and you're probably fine there. Timing, being able to time it with some kind of overarching thing. So for example, you notice that we're behind on pipeline build and you want to do something to fix that and you have a great idea. Don't do that at the end of the quarter when they're focused on closing. Do it after the quarter ends and it's a pressing thing, or do it early in the quarter so you can make a difference before they get focused on that. Then you also have what they care about the most and tying your argument to that, which is probably one of the most important things, is figuring out what's driving them and what makes them care. Are they trying to keep their job safe, their team's job safe? What's the underlying? And then finally, your reputation. And I view it like having a bank account, right? All of us burn and gain cash at different times. And it's really important as a professional, especially somebody who's in-house, to be really consistent, bring up mistakes really quickly and know how to fix them, and then represent yourself really well and loud. Over time, that builds that account up and you'll have more persuasion. It's just a framework that's been around for obviously ever. And I think it's a good way of thinking of things.
I'm definitely going to steal that. That was a much better answer that I gave. So I'm
No,
gonna
it
steal
was the
that.
same
That was great.
answer. It
That
was
was
just
great.
like
That was
compartmentalized
great.
because that's how my
No,
brain works.
I love it. Yeah, and definitely go with that answer. That was great.
What an awesome way to end an episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to touch on this topic before we go to where people can find you?
Yeah, I think the overarching message here from us is just you really should feel free to have the you really should feel free to have the confidence to speak up, right? You know what you're doing. You are in the trenches, you're in the weeds. You might not have all the context, but if you do your diligence, it's okay to speak up, whether you're in-house or you're a consultant. In my experience, in both worlds, people tend to respond well to curiosity, empathy, confidence, and aiming to try to do the right things right. You're not going to get it right every time, but if you're showing either your in-house team or your client that you are trying to do what's right for them and not just close another deal for yourself, chances are it's going to go well. So, yeah, lead with empathy, curiosity, and confidence.
And I think it's so important for people to realize that if you can say, hey, I'm seeing this big business impact, we're losing customers, and I'd like to try these 3 things to improve it, it'd be crazy for them to say no. Just start with the punchline. We're losing customers. I want to fix it. You have my
Exactly.
attention.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
All right, Alex, where can people find you to network and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, I appreciate the time here. This was great. People can find us at domestique.info. I'm also on LinkedIn. I am not a LinkedIn thought leader, so I am not pontificating on there by any means, but every now and then I have a snarky little bit that I need to get off my chest.
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode, everybody.
For more great content like this, join our community at RevOpsCoop.com and check out the links provided in the show notes.
Keep it RevOpsAF, y'all.